output sheet. So on this sheet, you don't have to do anything, okay? You're only required to enter here, okay? This is your only entry sheet, okay? Now, if you are using, so okay, let me just go according to this. So this is your valuation output. Don't worry about this, okay? So if you have options, so Starbucks has warrants, but don't worry about it, okay? Forget the warrants part. I don't think most companies, most of your companies are unlikely to have warrants, so don't bother with this, okay? You can just leave the warrant section if you're doing this. This is the diagnostic, so this basically helps you if your value looks too high or too low, okay? If like the value that you get here, the valuation that you get here, if it looks too high or too low, then you can look at the diagnostics sheet, okay? At the diagnostics
On the valuation output tab, there's a cell that's yellow. What input is that? We have to input that?
No. This is just, I just wanted to highlight it because this is the value that I'm getting. This is my intrinsic value of the share.
Versus the price below it.
Versus the current market price. So this is not, this was the price as of then. Okay, whenever I did this calculation last year.
It's probably now at 43.
It's, I have no idea how much it is now. I wish so, but I don't think so. Yeah. So, but basically, according to this, the share of this company is what? So my estimated value is $43.10, whereas the price is $74.46. So that means, according to my valuation, the share of this company is overvalued. Okay, this share is overvalued. This tab does the R&D converter. That is, if you have R&D expenses, so it basically converts the R&D expenses from operating to capital expenses. Okay, once again, this one is not as important. So if you can find the numbers, you can use the numbers. If not, just let it go. Okay, if not, just leave it. This part you've already done. Okay, so this is where you're doing your bond rating. So just enter, just copy it. Okay, so this is where it accounts for the operating leases. This part is really important. Okay, because most companies do have operating leases, and so we need the correct debt calculation. Now this tab, the cost of capital worksheet, this computes the cost of capital, but if you have computed the cost of capital, don't worry about this. Okay, so simply go, and one thing you can do is simply just enter it here, because this is the cell where the valuation, the input sheet pulls it from. Okay, this cell, this is your, this is cell E48 on the cost of capital worksheet. Either whatever cost of capital you've calculated, you can enter here, yeah, without doing anything else. Or you can simply go to the input sheet and simply override it here, wherever we have the cost of capital. 20 initial cost of capital. Okay, so you see here it says on the equation it says cost of capital worksheet cell E48. So you can just overwrite that and simply delete that and simply put in 7.8%. So instead of pulling from this tab, it will just consider it 7 point, or say you have 10.1%. Then just enter 10.1%.
So is there a number on there that pulls from the operating lease converter? I would think that there would be, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So operating lease converter. So the operating lease converter, when you go and click on the cell, if you see that it's pulling from there, and you already have, you can just enter it directly. Okay. Yes, anywhere you can override it by simply. So the way we did the spreadsheet is that we made sure that if you just do the spreadsheet, the spreadsheet will pull numbers from everywhere. But you can override any cell that you want. Okay, simply by entering it. Just delete the equation and simply enter the number. Okay.
That initial cost of capital is from what we got from our WACC?
Yeah, that's cost of capital is WACC. Yeah, your WACC calculation. Okay. So if you want to keep the equation, then put it here. Okay, if you want to keep the equation, if not, just enter it directly. Okay, it will override that. So this is the synthetic rating. So this is related to the operating lease converter. Okay, so that when you do it, and these are all your industry averages. Okay, so when you're for your report and for your presentation, if you're looking at industry averages, These are all the industry averages here on the spreadsheet, on this tab. So these are industry averages, these are for, these you guys won't need except for those who have one person has a foreign company, pharmaceutical company, so this is the global, these are global industry advantage, average, not advantage, average. These are all the different country tax rates, okay? Once again, everybody is US except Trinity. You can find your tax rate here. This is country equity risk premium. This is just once again US for everybody. And this is, just like trailing data. You're not even going to need this one.
So do we need to change anything on the synthetic rating tab?
No.
That one? We don't change anything.
No, this one, because this you have already done, right? This is the other spreadsheet, the bond valuation spreadsheet, okay? You've already done this.
But that one's tied to the operating lease, which we are putting stuff into, right?
Yeah, the operating lease, yeah. You can use the operating lease or you can override it on the input sheet.
And if we override it, we don't have to touch the synthetic.
No, yeah, exactly. You don't have to touch the synthetic rating. As long as you override it, you don't have to touch anything. And basically for the input sheet, these are your numbers, these two numbers, these will be for this year and the previous year, just so we can do the change, okay? Just so we can do the delta, okay? So your revenue for this year and the previous year, okay? Interest expense this year, this year, previous year, okay? So you're taking 2 consecutive years. So for example, take 2014, 2013, or 2015, 2014, right? Or so.
We probably don't have 2015 at this point.
Right. So 2014, 2013. Yeah, 2014, 2013. Yeah. So that's what these two. So you see this year, last year.
Oh, there it is.
It says there. Okay, this year. So yeah, I've made it as self-explanatory as possible. Okay, so this year, last year. Okay. And so these are pretty much same. So once you enter all these right here, you see, if you scroll down, these are some default assumptions. Okay, in stable growth, we assume that firm will have a cost of capital similar to that of typical mature firm. That is risk-free rate plus 4.5%. Do you want to override this assumption? Okay, so you can say, when you click on these cells, all these cells will have a yes or a no. Okay? If you want to override this assumption, you say yes. If no, it will automatically take the average from this tab. Will basically pull the average from this tab, from this industry tab, and add it to the 4.5% interest rate. Okay? Actually, this should just be, I've said yes here, but the calculation is no. Okay? I just changed it, so this is actually no. Okay? So if you don't want to deal much with it, you can pretty much go to make them all no's. If you make them all no's, the spreadsheet will automatically use the values, the sort of, the standard values. Unless your company is very, very different from the industry and you want to override everything. So yes, no, I think that this will not be right and this will not be right and I think this should be it. You can pretty much just leave them all as no's and the spreadsheet will simply do the standard calculation. And it will simply do the standard calculation. So the questions, these assumptions are all in blue. So you see the blue, I've mentioned the assumptions are all in blue. So if you're in stable growth, what are we assuming? Then assume that the firm will earn a return on capital equal to its cost of capital after 10 years. So that's one assumption we're making. Do you want to override this assumption? If no, just, if you don't want to deal with it, just say no. Okay? But if you want to override this assumption, if you say yes, then you have to enter a number here. Okay? Basically, if you say yes and you don't want to, and you don't enter a number here, then the spreadsheet will not do anything with that cell. Okay? So either you say no or you say yes, and then you must enter a number there. Because if you say yes, then spreadsheet will assume you're entering 0. Okay? The spreadsheet will simply consider that to be a 0. Assume that firm has no chance of failing terminal year. Because once again, remember in the terminal year, we said that companies generally pay less taxes because they're not doing something right? Because they're primarily because they have losses, which is why they're paying less taxes. But if they actually earn whatever they're supposed to earn, they would slowly over time move toward the marginal tax rate. So for the horizon value, we generally go with the marginal tax rate. But if you feel like your company is going to continue to earn just the effective tax rate, because say for example, it can take, say for example like GE, that takes a lot of tax deductions because of energy improvements and efficiency and all those things and outside. So then you simply say yes and you go with the effective tax rate. So say GE pays 20% taxes, then you can just say yes and go with the effective tax rate. Okay? This one, assume no losses carried forward from prior years coming into the valuation. If company is losing money, then you may want to overwrite this. So this was kind of an important one. If your company is continuously losing money, okay, you look at your company and you say that, well, for the last 6 years, 7 years, your company has been posting negative earnings. Okay? Then you definitely want to make this at yes. Okay? But if not, you can just leave it. And so once you enter all these inputs, your valuation spreadsheet basically automatically will compute all these from the input sheet. So just as an example, if you look at the revenue growth rate, right, so we have, I assume, so the spreadsheet actually uses 15.1% for the first 5 years, then the growth drops by some amount to 6, 7, 8, 9, and then starting the 10th year, we are assuming a stable growth rate of 3.29%. Okay? 3.29% was what? At the time, that was supposed to be the expected growth rate of US GDP. Okay? Currently, US GDP is about actually 2 point something. Okay? So which is why, if you want, you can actually change this to 3%. Okay? In the input sheet, you can change this, or leave it at 3.29%. Okay, but it's actually the US GDP is not growing at 3.29%. I use 3.29% because that was the expectation then, okay, that it would grow. But once again, we can always base our expectation and we can say, well, the economy has started growing, so it will pick up. Okay, so it's slightly less than 3% now. Okay, so you see that it will compute the terminal year. So this is our terminal year. So basically, the 10th year is our horizon value that's calculated. And so all these values, so also what the spreadsheet does is whatever beta you've computed, right, for the stock, it will update it will move the beta toward the beta of the industry. Okay? Not one, but this is I, industry. It will move the beta towards the beta of the industry. Okay? Because over time, as the company is maturing, it approaches the beta of the overall industry. Okay? Eventually the beta of the market, which is 1. But over the beta of the toward the beta of the industry, and so it assumes all those terminal year values, and then does. So I see I changed something here, so that's why it's giving me this weird thing now.
But yes.
Yeah, I put yes because I was just playing around with it, so I made some changes. Okay. But once you, as long as you enter all the inputs correctly here, your valuation output should give you the intrinsic value of the share. Look at the current share price, whatever is your last share price. So, say you're doing this tomorrow. Take the share price, closing price as of Friday. Okay? Whatever is the last price that you get, last price available, okay, from the market. So this would be your